Greetings from ASEF, the Asia Europe Foundation, and thank you so much for joining us in our Friends and Family series. Featuring on this episode, our Acting Executive Director, Mr. SUN Xiangyang. Mr. SUN is a seasoned diplomat from China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs with more than 25 years of experience. His diplomatic career has equipped Mr. SUN with relevant skills for his job in ASEF for the last 3.5 years. Welcome, Mr. SUN. It is a pleasure to chat with you today.
My pleasure too. Thank you for the interview and hello everybody.
So, Mr. SUN, you joined ASEF as Deputy Executive Director in January 2017. What were your first impressions of ASEF? Was the job as you expected it to be?
My first impression of ASEF was its location. The ASEF office is located in such a beautiful corner of the National University of Singapore campus, surrounded by woods. When I look out from my office window, I see lush greenery all around. You can see that. I see birds too sometimes, and I'm very happy about that. I was also amazed to find that we have staff of so many nationalities, about 1/3 Singaporeans, 1/3 Asians, and 1/3 Europeans. The different backgrounds and cultures of ASEF staff speak very well of ASEF's diversity. It is my first time to work in an organization with international staff. I found it interesting to have colleagues from different countries. To be frank, I was not aware of the exact work of ASEF when I joined, although I had a vague knowledge that ASEF implemented projects in the areas of education, culture, etc. I attended an activity in Beijing before joining ASEF. At that time, I already knew I would run for the Deputy Executive Director position at the end of the year 2016. I had met ASEF's Education Director at the event, but I didn't share my future plan with her because my government had not announced it yet. I expected my job in ASEF to be quite new for me. I knew I would be immersed in an environment quite different to what diplomats are usually used to, like government departments, structures. So I took the opportunity of the new setting to learn from our ASEF staff.
And I bet you have many interesting stories. What are your best memories in ASEF? Any event that you would like to highlight?
For some departments in ASEF, the head of department or director is usually a seconded diplomat from our partner countries. When I was a deputy executive director, I was acting director for 3 departments at different times in the temporary absence of a department director for communications, sustainable development, and public health, and the governance and economy, respectively. I would say that my fondest memory in ASEF were during my stints as the acting director, especially my experience attending events overseas with ASEF staff. One example is our Sustainable Development Project in the Lao PDR. We visit local restaurants to ask about their environment-friendly practices. We met people who worked in the fields. We learned how owners or general managers help the local people in achieving the sustainable development goals by adopting new methods and technologies. ASEF summarizes and shares these best practices with relevant stakeholders in Asia and Europe. By doing so, ASEF is doing its best, doing its part in making our home and the planet a better place. I also have many good memories attending public health and education events across Asia and Europe. I met interesting people who are willing to help you, such as a young gentleman in Bulgaria who accompanied me in attending the ASEAN Finance Ministers meeting as my liaison officer. When you travel to other places, you have the chance to know more about its local people and its culture, and then you will compare these observations with your own home country and reflect on the kinds of things you can learn from others. That's simply a great experience and always unforgettable.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sun, you were appointed as acting executive director in December 2019. How did your life change from deputy executive director to acting executive director?
I was appointed as the acting executive director last December. To be frank, it was unexpected because in the past, when the executive director left before finishing his term, usually his government sends a replacement. I was informed by the chair of the Board of Governors just 15 hours before, that I would be appointed as the acting executive director. I understood I was in no position to refuse it, even though I had to get approval from my government later. The biggest difference after being appointed as acting executive director is that you are the final decision maker now, which means that you are taking the most responsibility for every decision. If anything goes wrong, sorry, you are the one to be blamed. No escape, no excuse. So the pressure on your shoulder is certainly on and much heavier now. This was how I felt. And I have to think about the challenges ASEF was facing. I could not let the governors down. I could not let our ASEF staff down.
Yeah, it's such huge responsibility. What achievements are you most proud of, or any things you wish you had done differently?
I am most proud of the support and the cooperation by my ASEF staff and the management team. When I was appointed as acting executive director, ASEF was facing three major challenges. A financial one, a management issue, and the COVID-19 pandemic. All this set in during my first 2 months as acting executive director. I could not overcome these challenges alone. At the request of our executive committee, ASEF had to adopt more cost-cutting measures to the extent of adopting voluntary salary reductions, including no-pay leaves. Finally, we successfully achieved a healthier financial situation, a more united ASEF team, and we managed to reprioritize and redesign our programs in light of the pandemic. At the 41st Board of Governors meeting, our board commended ASEF for these achievements. I was deeply moved by my colleagues when they actively participate in the voluntary salary reduction. In fact, some junior staff also expressed their willingness to join this voluntary salary reduction. But I rule out this possibility from the start. Voluntary salary reduction was meant for the middle management staff and above. I am aware of our junior staff salary level. I could not allow any circumstances to affect their living conditions. This implementation of voluntary salary reduction measures reflects the spirit of sacrifice and dedication to ASEF by its staff. If you talk about disappointments, I have no disappointments. I have done my best in ASEF by putting ASEF's interest in as my first priority, especially after being appointed as acting executive director.
And on these challenging times, what are the top priorities for ASEF?
ASEF's top priorities are always to implement the decisions of the Board of Governors, the Executive Committee, and the Finance and Audit Committee, which include addressing many challenges such as financial issues and project-related issues. For the financial part, we have to find ways to maintain or even increase the contributions from ASEF members, and how to acquire more external funding for ASEF. On the project's aspect, we have 53 members, and this means there were so many expectations from ASEF members with regards to project designs and implementation. However, ASEF has limited resources. So how can we balance these two ends? Finding the delicate balance between these realities, keeping even more relevance to ASEAN process and visibilities are the top priorities for ASEF. In addition, we have a new set of difficulties brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. How can we continue to promote people-to-people exchanges between Asia and Europe during this pandemic? How can we redesign the implementation of our projects? ASEF has to face these pressing tasks and show our board that we have done a good or even great job to prove our relevance in this fast-changing world. If ASEF does not change fast enough, funding priorities of ASEAN partners will also shift.
And considering all this, what advice would you give to your successor?
The executive director and the deputy executive director must work together as a team. I suggest they make decisions together.
And for us, for the ASEF staff, what message would you like to give to the team?
First, I want to say that as long as the executive director and the deputy executive director work as a team, ASEF team can and will overcome any challenges. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to each and every one of you for your invaluable support and hard work against all the odds we had faced and are still facing. It has been my privilege to preside over ASEF during this period of unprecedented challenges. I am honored to have had the opportunity to work with all of you, and I am proud of your achievements. Indeed, the strength of ASEF lies in its staff. I really have learned a lot from our staff. Working with you has reinforced my firm belief in ASEF's vital role in promoting stronger people-to-people exchanges between Asia and Europe. ASEF's role will be even more important going forward in the post-COVID-19 world. And I am confident that you will continue to do impactful projects under the new executive management.
Finally, what is in store for you in the next chapter of your career?
I'm not aware of it yet. I have to go home first.
Of course, and we wish you the best back home.
Thank you.
And to finish this interview on a personal note, do you have any interest that you would like to share with us?
Yes, I am a collector of Asian Chinese export porcelains starting in the Philippines about 7 years ago. It is the physical evidence of trade links between China and Southeast Asia. I also like to read about Chinese history and about Southeast Asia in general. I just finished a book by Elizabeth Pisani, Indonesia, etc., exploring the improbable nation. Even though I worked in Jakarta for 2 years, and my work is related to Southeast Asia, I have to say this book is amazing. I strongly recommend this book if you are interested in Indonesia. I also like to play badminton, and I drink tea every day, all kinds of Chinese tea. I also like watching Japanese historical series. The Japanese samurai heroes make me strongly believe that a good person should serve his people, care about his people.
That was so insightful, Mr. Song. And thank you to our audience too. We hope that you have enjoyed this interview. Please follow us on social media and feel free to share ASEF content. Let's keep in touch and hope to see you soon.